With the next round of the Champions League fast approaching, all eyes will of course be on Bayern Munich. However, sometimes the favourite team does not always win. Therefore today I'm taking a look at 7 reasons why Manchester City will win the Champions League. Reason number 7 as to why City could be winning the Champions League. This time round, the competition is completely and utterly wide open. There is no top contender across Europe at the moment, as so many teams have struggled in their leagues. I mean, looking at the usual suspects, let's start with Real Madrid. They are really struggling in La Liga to keep up with Atletico Madrid. And you look at how they performed in the Champions League, it wasn't great. Yeah, they did manage to get out of the group stage in the top spot, but they came unstuck a couple of times, and there were times when I was wondering, are they even going to get out of the group stage? And you look at who they've got for goals. Luka Jovic, he is back at Frankfurt on loan. Eden Hazard is injured. So all of the goals are resting on the shoulders of Karim Benzema, and you need a few more options than that, surely. Now, speaking of Real Madrid and Zinedine Zidane, there has been some speculation as to whether he will be keeping his job at the club. Now, who could replace him at Real Madrid? Matt has actually done a video about this, and you can check it out as it is somewhere now above my head. And of course, you've got Juventus. Now, looking at their form in the league recently, things are not going well for them, and I'm not too sure if they've got the quality, and at the end of the day, they cannot just rely on Ronaldo to be banging goals in for them. Then you've got Barcelona. Of course, they will want to try and make an effort in the Champions League after that awful defeat to Bayern last season, but they are also struggling in the league, and I'm not too sure if they're going to end up getting past PSG. And speaking of PSG, they have struggled, but they have had quite a few wins recently with Pochettino, but it's PSG. Even if they do manage to get to the final, they always seem to manage to mess things up. And yes, there's Bayern Munich, probably the favourite for quite a few people, but although they are doing really well in the Bundesliga at the moment, they have struggled and they have been beaten a couple of times, which might leave them feeling a little bit weaker. And also, you look at Liverpool, they're really struggling to find that consistent form that they've had over the last couple of years. It's the same with Bayern. They surely cannot keep up competing at the same high level and standard all of the time, so maybe they will slip. All this proves is that the competition this season is completely and utterly wide open, and City have got as good a chance as anybody. Reason number 6 for me has to be the squad that Manchester City has. I think that they've got a really good balance of not only some really talented youth, but some really good experienced players. I mean, you look at the likes of Sergio Aguero, you look at Fernandinho, they're probably more the OAPs of the group, I would say, but you cannot deny how vital they are in City's teams and the experience that they can provide. Then you've got the likes of Riyad Mahrez, Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan, who are all around that 30 years of age bracket, and they are arguably at the height of their careers, completely and utterly in their prime. Then you've got Raheem Sterling, John Stones, Bernardo Silva, that are kind of in their mid-20s, and despite still being young, they've got bags of experience and are playing so well. And to finish things off, you've got the young talent. You've got the likes of Phil Foden, Ferran Torres, Ruben Diaz, who are absolutely killing it for their ages. And what Pep Guardiola has here is a perfect mix of players. He's got young players that are hungry with so much desire, and he's still got players that are a little bit older that still are so desperate for this Champions League trophy. He's got squad depth there, and he has a brilliant team that is pretty much solid in all areas of the pitch. At number 5, one of the reasons why City could be winning the Champions League is that they finally seem solid in defence, and that is thanks to Ruben Diaz. Recently, Manchester City have been on absolute fire, and you cannot deny how brilliant they have been, especially with all those clean sheets. 13 in the league to be exact. Now, looking at the beginning of the Premier League season, the first 9 games or so, they were really struggling and their defence did not look solid. And you could argue that last season as well, it did look a little bit shaky. But one thing that has changed was the summer arrival of Ruben Diaz. He was a late arrival for Guardiola. He joined in match week 3, but he has been so brilliant for that back line. As the weeks have progressed, he has proven exactly why he is such an important player for Manchester City. Now, sometimes players go a little bit unnoticed. People don't always seem to see the important things that they do, and Ruben Diaz is kind of one of these players in that sometimes people do miss the important things that he does. He's so solid at the back and consistent, not only with his excellent positioning in difficult situations, but also his composure and awareness within the back four. His concentration levels are insane, and long gone seems to be the days of when City's defence would kind of fall asleep a little bit, because Diaz is completely and utterly on the case. Now, he has actually been likened to Virgil van Dijk, not necessarily in how great he is as a player. I think we need to give him a few seasons yet to see how he does, but regarding his impact, you look at when Van Dijk arrived at Liverpool, he helped propel that team to so much success. He had such a massive impact, and people are saying that Diaz is kind of doing the same thing at Manchester City, and I can kind of see why people are making these comparisons. And just when you think the compliments couldn't get any better for a Manchester City player, he's also been likened a little bit to Vincent Kompany. Now, he led the back line. His leadership was so strong. He was the communicator. And it's safe to say that City have been lacking that since he departed. But all eyes are on Diaz now, and a lot of people are saying that he is the next man to lead that line and be that communicator. And you can kind of understand, because the amount of impact that this man has had, I mean, you just have to look at John Stones alone to see this. He has absolutely been reborn thanks to Diaz and the partnership that they've got going. For Diaz coming to a new club, a new country, and performing at this high level with so much consistency is just brilliant to see. Of course, you look at his time at Benfica, he was at the top of his game competing for some of the biggest trophies. So wanting to strive for success, he's no stranger to that, which means that he's a great fit at Manchester City and a great player for them to have if they want that Champions League trophy. At number 4, another reason why City could win this Champions League trophy is because they have so many options when it comes to goals. Now, in the Champions League, especially in those latter stages, you don't just need one prolific goal scorer at the front, but you need to be able to rely on goals from so many different options on the field. And this is where City really have this covered. Of course, as the seasons come and go, they rely on Sergio Aguero, Kevin De Bruyne for goals and assists. But recently, especially due to their injuries, other players for Manchester City have really come into their own. And like I say, they have got such an array of goal-scoring options. Last season, there was Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, Mahrez. They were all getting double figures in the goal tallies. But this season, even more players have been added to this. Ilkay Gundogan is already almost on double figures. He's never really been a big goal scorer, but all of a sudden, he is actually their top goal scorer at this moment in time. Then you've got the likes of Sterling, who looks like he's set for another really good season regarding goals. Even Phil Foden is now getting in the mix, and actually John Stones, he's already got 2 goals in the league. Having players that can score you some goals across the pitch is so important, and I do think this is one area that Pep Guardiola doesn't really have to worry about. If they're in that quarter-final game and they're desperate to get to that semi-final, they're in extra time and they need a goal, I think that Guardiola can rest easy knowing that he has got quite a few options to get that winning goal. And speaking of goals, at number 3, it has to be Phil Foden. He is absolutely flying at the moment, and he is pretty much living every young man's dream. He's playing for his boyhood club, he's performing so well, and he's arguably England's brightest young talent at the moment. From his surging runs, dribbles, ability to beat the man no matter who is in front of him, and the way he walks straight through defences at times has been astounding. And pair this with great passing and some really captivating goals so far this season, he's already playing a major role in Manchester City's campaign. One thing about Phil Foden that is really impressive is that he's not been a flash in the pan like so many young players we do see. Since his debut in November 2017, he has just got better and better with each year that's passed. And it's not just his ability, but his goal scoring as well. And this season, he's on record to hit double figures. Now, of course, Guardiola says that he still needs time, he still needs to improve, but when you see Phil Foden playing out wide, you cannot help but get excited. And if he's proven himself in the Premier League, who's to say he couldn't prove himself on the European stage as well? Number 2 has to be Manchester City's current form so far this season. Now, we're only about halfway through the season, and already things haven't been easy for Manchester City, but what this does mean is that they have had to really dig deep and show some character, especially with the injuries to Sergio Aguero and Kevin De Bruyne. At times, you've almost forgotten that some players have been absent because City have soldiered on and so many players have stepped up to the plate. Now, looking at the Premier League in Week 10, they were in 11th position. They were 6 points off the top. It was Spurs at the top at the time. How crazy to think of that now. And they were really struggling. You know, they lost against Leicester, that big loss. They drew against Leeds United, who were fresh into the Premier League, and of course that loss against Spurs. But they've turned things round. They are now sitting pretty at the top of the Premier League, 5 points clear. What this proves is that this team has some exceptional quality within its ranks and a manager who without a doubt can get the best out of the team when needed. And of course, looking at their Champions League form, they progressed through the group stage with no problems whatsoever and 0 losses. Now, some people might argue that they did have one of the more easier groups, but nevertheless, that doesn't dispute the fact that Manchester City managed to fly through that group stage with no real problems. They had 1 draw, but the rest of it was just convincing wins all the way. And mentally, this will work so many wonders for Manchester City regarding their next moves in the competition and moving forward, because if they manage to get through the group stage with ease, then they'll surely be feeling better about the rest of the competition. Now, before we get to number 1, make sure that you guys are subscribing subscribing, hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on, and that way you'll be notified whenever OneFootball drop a new video. And finally, the main reason why Manchester City will be winning the Champions League is because they've got Pep Guardiola. Now, some people may be throwing a little bit of shade on Guardiola, that he's not as good as he used to be, or that he's not won the Champions League in so long, he's not proven himself outside of Barcelona, whatever. This man is an absolute genius, and there is no denying his ability as a manager. Last season, City did seem a little bit stagnant in some areas. Now, you could blame this on COVID, fatigue with the players, etc., but it seemed like Pep Guardiola needed to really refresh his blueprints, and that's exactly what he's done. He's taken the City that everybody knows and loves, and he's just improved it. It's still the same foundations, but just new players that have improved the club and some new tactics. Thanks to Guardiola recognising the changes that needed to be made, especially when it came to slowing down the game when in possession, he has pretty much saved their season. Going from running with the ball too much to this kind of tiki-taka football that we're seeing now with Guardiola in City, it has been a joy to watch, and he's almost implementing some of the stuff that he used at Barcelona. I mean, especially when you consider Mahrez and Lionel Messi. Now, I'm not saying that they are on the same level whatsoever, but he did used to use Messi as this kind of false number 9, and we're seeing the same thing with Mahrez in some games. And you're looking at Gundogan and Bernardo Silva, they're almost like the Xavi and the Iniesta of the team. Not saying that they're the same, of course, like I said, but this has worked wonders as they now are sat at the top of the league. If they can continue to play like this with the players' level of understanding of what Guardiola wants in his system, then I am more than confident that they can break the quarter-final curse, progress into the latter stages of the Champions League, and prove why they are one of, if not the best team in Europe. So that is my opinion on why City can be crowned kings of Europe. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Check out all the other content that we've got here at OneFootball, and I will see you all later.